Welcome to this HelloID webinar brought to you by Tools Forever. Today we'd like to give you an overview of the new functionality in HelloID. We encourage you to ask questions. You can do this via the chat option. You can find the option here. At the end of the demonstration, your questions will be answered. I'd like to turn this over now to Cheered Sign-In, HelloID Product Owner and Manager. He will explain and demonstrate the new HelloID functionality. Please enjoy, and don't forget to post a question.
Jamie, thank you for the introduction. Hello, welcome everybody to this HelloID webinar. And today I'm going to talk about the release in May 2020. That's the version we released last Monday. And in this webinar I'd like to cover and talk about the new functionality we have released last Tuesday. Okay, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and then I will answer them at the end of the webinar. Okay, first I'd like to start with a PowerPoint presentation and then I'd like to demo you some of the new functionality to you. So let me turn on the pointer. There we go. I'd first like to start with service automation. And in service automation we have 5 new items. And the first one is that now on a product you can set a resource owner as a group instead of one person. And out of the group of person, it will be a person selected that can do an approval on a request or actually deny, of course. So instead of a user, it now is a group. We have 2 new APIs, and I have an extra slide to explain what the functionality of this API is. So I will first do the other 2 items that we are going to release. Relatively small one, but if you hover over the text in a grid box, then you'll see the full text. And the date time is was passed to a PowerShell script with double quotes, and of course we have stripped one quote, so it's single quote, and now it's easier to pass in a PowerShell script. So let me explain these 2 APIs and why we have added this functionality in this release. And it is part of a longer release. We also released already elements of this in April, and it gives the manager the opportunity to give products to a selected user. So let me explain a little bit in one sheet how this functionality is for these 2 APIs, for the API endpoint calls. So suppose you have HelloID in service automation, you have 4 products, and you have a manager, and you want to delegate a form to the manager, and you want to have an alternative route for the manager to assign products to a user. Of course, you can use the standard interface for that, but perhaps you want to customize that and give it your own flavor. So you create a delegated form, but then you need an API to retrieve information on which products you can assign to a certain user. Well, the first step that you can do is set a group on the different products. So suppose you set this group management on P2 and P4. The first API endpoint is that you can get products for the selected group. So this is the input, and then the return is P2 and P4. The next step, what you want to do as a manager is perhaps to select a user where you want to assign the products to. But then you want absolutely sure that that user is entitled to those products you have retrieved with get products. That's if this user can access P2 and P4. That can be regulated by groups on a product, but also by permission on categories, for example. So then you select the user, and then you verify if that user can really have access to the products. So suppose this person is a member of this group and has access to P2 and P1 and P2, sorry, but not to P4. So the request for that call can users request this product. It will return P2 only, and then you're sure if you're going to execute the task on that delegated form, you're not going to get permission errors because you have a person that can only access P2. Okay, so these are the, and I have in the demo, I have a short form where I can demo this functionality. All right, to provisioning, next module. 6 new items. We changed the behavior of the manual start import. It used to be that you also executed the business rules, but now it's a two-step approach, and it gives more, then you have more power control over the whole import process. Now it's a two-step, so you first import everybody into the person vault, and then you can execute the business rules. More safe behavior. 2 new notifications, one on disable and one on enable events, so you can send emails to the respective users that are interested in that in those 2 events. This is perhaps a little bit complicated one, but this is the iteration level. It used to be on an attribute, but now you can set it unique over the whole connector. So suppose you have an email and the same account name in Active Directory, you want to have them exactly the same. And now with this sync iteration on a target name, you can actually do this. You see this here in this image. You can also manually correlate. You could already correlate. You could do the correlation report, and it shows the correlated accounts that could not be matched between persons and the accounts in, for example, the Active Directory. And now you have the option to select 2 accounts and to link them together. And last, and I have an extra couple of slides to explain what the functionality is, but now you can pass information from one target system to the other, and that's the account information. It used to be like this, that you have, for example, HR as input. You could retrieve that information and put it in the HelloID person identity vault, and then you have a business rule to create an account in the Active Directory. Suppose you also have a PowerShell connector to create accounts in another system, like an ACD. But for SSO purposes, you want to have the username, the same account name, or the UPN in the ECD context, and then you want to pass that information here. But there was no option to pass information from one connector to the other, and this is exactly what we have added in this release. So same situation, but now the arrow is now the other way around, and now you can have per attribute in the account mapping in a connector. You can set a toggle if you want to pass information from the target connector back into the vault. On a person, you can see a short summary of the information that is being passed from, in this case, AD on-premise to this on-premise connector. And again, I will show you in the demo how this looks like. And now you have this target connector. And in the target connector, you can set a dependency. So you want to have information from the on-premise connector into the target connector. The nice thing is that if you set this dependency, the on-premise connector will be executed before the target connector will be executed, so that the information is available for the target connector. And then you have the information in the vault, and then you want to retrieve, for example, the SAM account name, so then you can use this references to retrieve the SAM account name. So then the account name is available in the target connector. Extra bonus is that you can also pass information back into the vault for other purposes, or perhaps pass it to other connectors. Okay, last sheet for the demo is at access management. 2 new items. We have improved token management, auth token management, and we are able, and this is a very small one, to create an OpenID Connect secret. Okay, so let me demo this functionality. And again, let me know, or let us know if you have any questions. Put it in the chat box, and we answer them after the demo. Okay, so let me go to the portal. So this is the portal, and let me show you the first one, the resource owner on a product. Product. Let's take just an example. Oh, Visio. And here you can see, of course, need to edit, that the managed by is now a group, and I can also select. Remember that this, for existing users, this will have no effect. So if there was one user, there was a new user created, resource owners of Visio, the name of the group, or the name of the product, sorry, and then that that user is put in that group. That's the migration for existing users. And this is incorporated all through the product. So if you go to the workflow and you select the workflow approval, here you can see that the resource owner now is a group. If I go to the end portal, select Visio, and open Visio, here you can see that this is not a user anymore, but now it is a group. Okay, the endpoint I will demo later on. Show you that the text is too long, really simple one. Created this one. And here you see if you hover over, you get a pop-up box. So I'm not going to demo you the double quote PowerShell date and time, but I will show you the double API. We switch back to the PowerPoint presentation. I will demo you, I will show you the form, and then you get the group products. So let me switch back to the portal. So I'm going to show you this app. I can select the user, and I have to select myself, cheers, and it will come up with only one product, Visio. If I go to the admin portal, I have two products, and that's Visio in the group management group. That is this group, but I also have Adobe in that group. So actually, it should show two products, but it's only showing one product. It is showing Visio, but not Adobe, and they're both in that group. So they should show two products for the user, but it's only showing this one, and that's because it's doing a double check if the user can request that product. And let me show you why it's only showing Visio and not Adobe. Let me switch back to here. So actually it should show both products, but if I click here and try to assign it to myself, to Chaired, I get this message. And so basically it cannot assign Adobe Photoshop to Chaired because it violates a segregation of duty role. Pretty powerful if you want to make apps for the manager to have a customizable interface. Okay. So now let me switch over to provisioning, going to the provisioning section, and let me show you that you now have a manual import here. Is that it now a two-step approach? So I already created a person, Chris Anderson, and Chris Anderson does not exist now. So let me go back to the import and 96, and we'll go to 97 because I already prepared. I created Chris Anderson before this webinar, so this is now 97, and Chris is being imported. Chris Anderson, and but now the import only runs till here. The business rules to create elements or user accounts or entitlements in the target systems is not yet being executed. It used to be executed in once, but now it's a two-step. So I have to go to evaluation, and I have to rerun because Chris Anderson is not here. But if I do start enforcement, you will see that Chris Anderson is now created, and it used to be one step. The notifications, and let me very briefly show you this. You have account create, evaluation summary. I demoed that a month ago, but now we have account enable and in disable, and per system you can set a target email address, the subject, and of course the content of the message. The sync iterations between the generated name, go to a target system, and you need to go to the account sections. So suppose here you have iteration, you can say that ensure this field is unique. But it here is the new option, synchronize unique fields. If I turn this on, then every iteration is the same. If this is going to be iteration number 2, then this one will also be iteration number 2. So then this will be synchronized together, and that makes sure that you're always going to have the same name if you really want to have them unique. But then they are unique, and they're also the same because the iteration level is the same. Okay, to correlate persons to an account, you have the correlation report. I can of course refresh that, and based on the correlation value, then the external ID is set in the employee ID field. It must be the same. And in the correlation field, you can see that this person is the same in this account name in the Active Directory. And these accounts here are uncorrelated accounts in the Active Directory, uncorrelated persons in the vault. And I don't have a real good demo, I think, but suppose I want to link these two persons together. Doesn't make really sense. But if I link them together, then this user will be updated with this information after I have linked that. And what will happen is that the external ID from the person will be set in the employee ID field in the HelloID, in the Active Directory, sorry. And of course you can see it has to do with this setting. Okay, now show the account mapping information from one target system to another. So I start with a target system. I start with the Active Directory, and in the account I can start specifying that I want to just fold this. That I want, for example, SAM account name. I want to pass that information, store this field in. It's this text. Tick the tick box. So if I tick box this, then information from Active Directory after the creation of an account will be stored or updated in the person vault. So let me go back to Chris Anderson. This is new account, and here you can see the linked accounts. And here you can see that information from Active Directory is passed back to the HelloID person vault. And I set that for user principal name, but also for the SAM account name and the common name. And I can reuse that in the PowerShell script. So let me go back to the PowerShell script. So then I can make a reference to that information, and I'm using this in Topdesk. Oh, sorry. Here you can see that I use, so this is the dependency check. This makes sure that AD is run before the Topdesk connector in this example. So I know that Chris is being created first in Active Directory, and then Topdesk is being executed. So here I can make a reference to the account, and here I can set the account. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. So this is the person accounts on-premise AD. That's a reference to the on-premise target connector Active Directory. And then I'm using the SAM account name, and I'm reusing the SAM account name that's being created in the Active Directory in the Topdesk connector. Okay, this was provisioning. The last thing I'd like to demo you is access management. So let me jump to, oh, that was wrong, to the token management, security, 2FA, and manage tokens. It was already there, but this is import tokens was available, so you can import the CSV file, but you now have also the option to manually add tokens. So I can just specify this is the same information as from the CSV file, but now I just have a simple interface to do the same, but now one by one. Another thing that we have added is the delete. So I can delete references, and I can determine who is going to have access to a particular token. So multiple people can use the same or share the same token. Okay, and the last thing I'd like to share a demo, and then I'd like to go back to the PowerPoint presentations to answer the questions. applications. I think it's I need to add an OpenID to show you the secret. So let me use this one, and this is new. So the secret that is auto-generated as part of the creation and adding a new application to the dashboard. And this can be used also, I'm demoing it now as part of the OpenID Connect, but you can also use it in other, for example, for SAML applications. It's not tied to OpenID Connect only. Okay, let me go back to the PowerPoint presentation. And Jamie, I see there are questions. Can you read them for me? Thank you.
Cheered. Thank you so much for that presentation. Sure. First question coming up here. What's your idea or strategy with service automation and MSPs, specifically multi-tenancy support?
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. With HelloID, we focus strongly on trying to dedicate as much as possible into the organization per end customer. And we also want to very much focusing on MSPs. But we want to do this step by step. First focusing on making it as good as possible for the end customer and make sure that the customer has all the functionality that is required for managing user accounts. We are, I think, already at the stage that that is covered. The next step is that we want to increase the performance, improve the performance, also supporting all admin tasks also by APIs. And later on, and it's probably going to be beginning of next year, we will add MSP support, multi-tenancy support for MSPs. And it will be very, very nice, and very much looking forward to build that new functionality. But first we want to cover functionality for the end customers, improve performance, include APIs, easy up the configuration a bit, and then add very strong MSP multi-tenancy support to service automation. Thank you for your question. Next question, Jamie.
Second question. Will the performance of service automation improve?
Yes, the performance for service automation is not as we want it to be. We're definitely trying to get this better, but it has a big impact on the infrastructure of service automation, including the agent technology. So we are revising, redoing, and redesigning that piece of the software. And later this year, probably the end of this year, we will dramatically improve the performance of service automation. Thank you.
And it looks like this last one here is, what is the status of the scheduled reports?
Yes, status of the reports. We have included a functionality a long time ago. We already added some reports last release. Next release we're going to add other built-in reports for scheduled reports again. I think interesting to know and to mention that later on this year we will bring out a very, very nice extension for external reporting. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because we want to make sure that it fits in the product and we want to investigate all the possibilities, but the reporting functionality later this year is going to be very, very nice. Okay, that's it. Thank you for your attention. Again, this was a webinar about the new functionality released in May. Released that version last Tuesday. If you want to have any other or any additional information, please let me know. For now, thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. And well, let me know if you have any other questions. And otherwise, I will hopefully see you next month for the webinar for June. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.